She had never touched the earth. She was born on a different continent. She came to Portugal as a calf, young enough that she would not remember the journey. She would not remember the grasslands of southern Africa. She would not remember what her feet felt like on ground that was not packed dirt or concrete or sawdust. Her name was Julie. For 38 years she lived inside the Circo Victor Hugo Cardinali, one of Portugal's most prominent traveling circuses. She performed multiple shows a week. She traveled on trucks and in convoys through Portuguese cities and towns. She wore costumes and followed queues and stood under lights. She had been doing this since 1988. It was the only life she had ever known. Portugal banned wild animals in circuses in 2018. The law fully took effect in 2024. When it did, Julie retired, not by choice, not by any agency of her own, but because the legislation had finally reached the moment when it meant something. She was released from her performing obligations. She was still in the circus's care, but the performances had stopped. That same year, her last remaining companion died. An elephant without another elephant is an elephant in a particular kind of suffering. They are among the most social animals on the planet. They communicate across distances that humans cannot hear. They grieve. They remember. And Julie, alone in a Portuguese circus for the first time in a life that had already taken everything else from her, lost the one other living creature who had shared all of it. She spent that time alone. On the day she arrived, she stepped out of the transport vehicle and into the Alentejo landscape. She had never been to this part of Portugal. She had never had space like this. The sanctuary gave her everything she needed to thrive: the space, the environment, the veterinary team. She took her first steps into the sanctuary, and then she found the mud. An elephant's relationship to mud is not casual or recreational. Mud is thermoregulation. It keeps them cool in heat that would otherwise damage their skin, which has almost no natural protection against the sun. Mud is also a form of communication, of sensory experience, of ancient biological memory. An elephant who has spent 38 years on sawdust and concrete and truck beds knows mud in some cellular way that does not require memory of having touched it before. Julie went in. Her first mud wallow, her first dust bath. The two of them together are almost ritually significant for elephants. Mud first, to cool the skin and soften it, then dust to seal in the moisture and add an extra layer of protection. She did both of them for the first time in her life. Her carers watched, and they described what happened next as lovely to see. Julie used her tusks, the long, curving ivory that she had spent 38 years managing in a context where they served no real purpose, to dig into the earth. She had never done that before, or never been able to. The digging is instinctive. It is what elephants do when they are standing on ground that belongs to them. She pressed her tusks into the soil of the Alentejo and dug. 38 years old. First dig. When she had explored enough for the day, her caretakers offered her apples, not to perform, not to follow a cue, just to encourage her to walk a little further into the habitat, to discover a little more of what was now hers. She took the apples. She explored. She is learning at an age when most circus elephants have already stopped having the chance to learn anything new, what it means to move through space that exists for her rather than for an audience. Subscribe if you are still watching. This story deserves to be heard. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we are here, and we are going to keep finding them, the animals who spent decades waiting and finally got the thing that was always supposed to be theirs. Julie is not done yet. Pangea Trust has announced that a second elephant will be joining her. Her name is Kariba. She is currently at a zoo in Belgium, and her transfer to Pangea is being arranged. Elephants need companionship. They are not built to live alone, and whatever healing Julie has started at Pangea will accelerate the moment another elephant steps into the habitat beside her. She will have a companion again. She will have someone to communicate with across distances, someone who knows what she is. Kariba does not know Julie yet, but they are both elephants, both survivors of captivity, both beginning again in the Alentejo. They will find each other the way elephants do, slowly, with investigation, with the rumbling low-frequency calls that pass through the ground as much as through the air. Julie spent 38 years performing. She spent a year alone, and now she is standing in Portuguese soil, digging with tusks that finally have earth to press against, with a companion on the way, with a team of veterinary specialists watching over her, with apples when she needs a reason to keep walking forward. That is not a bad way to start over. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and share this. Every share is how these stories find the people who need them. We will be back Wednesday, and we will have another one. Take care of yourselves.